You know, growing up, my favorite characters in fiction were always the ones who had the mysterious, cool, calm, and nonchalant personas. Something about them always stood out to me, especially when I was a kid, as I was extremely antisocial and could never relate to most main characters in cartoons or anime, as they always had eccentric personalities. I think my first experience with this was at the age of 12 when I watched my first anime, OG Naruto. Naruto as a character is fine. I know some people dislike him and find him annoying, but as a main protagonist, I think he fits the story well. I just didn't find him that relatable. I was just the opposite of him. Do you know who I did find relatable? Shikamaru. Him being really intelligent but never applying himself because he was lazy made me point to my TV and say, he's just like me. Until, of course, I found out later in life that buses did in fact come in longer sizes. I was drawn to his I don't care personality and how nonchalant he was, especially considering how a lot of the other characters surrounding him had loud personalities. Now, I'm not the only man who's been influenced by these type of characters, right? I think every guy goes through or is going through a stage in their life in which they try to be this mysterious and nonchalant figure. Their whole personality is them just being quiet and showing no emotions, operating like an idling NPC who only interacts with you if you interact with him first. Honestly, I'm just sick and tired of it. I'm getting sick and tired of men, specifically younger Gen Z men, who are trying to put on this mysterious and nonchalant act. I'm pretty sure you know someone or you are the someone who tries to play this cool, mysterious, intelligent, quiet figure when out in the public. You know, the person who in a group setting, the only words you will hear them speak during the duration is a greeting, what's up, and just nod along with everything, and randomly leave without saying any goodbyes to anyone. That pisses me off because that's all an act. Last night on Discord, we were having a very animated conversation on who would give better backshots, Diddy or LeBron. My king, by the way.
In the film.
Oh god.
Just like that. That was, I believe that.
Now all of a sudden, you have nothing to say. Like, everyone is trying to emulate Duke Dennis because they saw a few clips of him on TikTok and Instagram having aura moments, raising up women by his sheer presence, and eating grapes like he's about to roll some dice. Jesus Christ. I think I've already used all the trending Gen Z terms in those two sentences. Anyways, the reason why I dislike this whole mysterious, nonchalant act a lot of men try to put on is simply because that's not them. They're putting on a front. They're trying to cosplay as someone else. Someone that is an interesting person because they show no emotions and offer little information about themselves, which naturally makes people curious about you, especially women, the great motivator of man. The reason why a lot of young men do this, besides of course trying to impress women, is simply because the real them isn't an interesting person at all, and they have no identity whatsoever or personality that makes them stand out. People who tend to do this also have no hobbies, nothing going for them, and overall lack general skills. That is why a lot of men put on this act, because they themselves lack character. They are not someone you might want to interact with and develop some type of social relationship with. They are boring, antisocial people. Now, I understand why a lot of men do this. I was someone who used to do this, and sometimes still does this. Very quiet, offered little to no information about myself, zero social media presence. Just overall, if someone was to ask about me, it would lead to a bunch of question marks. They might not even know my name. And the reason why I did this, and why a lot of young men also do this, is because they don't think the real them will be accepted, that they will be judged for being themselves. A lot of that is because of insecurities, which I personally think is the biggest roadblock in life for many young men when it comes to relationships, friendships, family, your career, or a lack of one. Insecurities stop you from making progress. And it's very difficult to not only be comfortable with yourself, but not judge everything in a negative light when it comes to yourself. When men pretend to be someone they're not because they think people will like them for that someone, the nonchalant dreadhead persona, they are struggling with their identity. They struggle with making genuine connections with people and getting closer to them. Because what if they find out you're not the person you're making yourself out to be? What if they find out that you're just a boring guy who has nothing going for himself? They find out the true you, the person you might actually be. One thing that I've noticed about myself and a lot of young men who try to put on this act is that they struggle interacting with people in the public. that even if you hear an interesting conversation going on or they're discussing a topic you know a lot about and are very passionate about, you won't butt in. You won't join the conversation no matter how much you want to. It doesn't even have to be between like a large group of friends that know each other very well. It could literally be a classroom discussion before the bell rings. Coworkers trying their best not to work and having pointless conversations to pass the time. Anywhere, to be quite frank. We do this because we are afraid of being judged. What if you do put yourself in their conversation, that they will find you weird and annoying? What if they don't find you funny and give you pity laughs every time you tell a joke and hope you go away? One thing that you have to realize is that people care less about other people than you think. We as human beings, especially as Americans, are very self-centered. We only really care about ourselves and the people close to us. I think you need to realize that people don't care what you're doing. If you stutter, tell an unfunny joke, they won't remember that for the rest of their lives. To a stranger, you're a stranger. You're just another NPC in their life, and that's not a bad thing. We sometimes think we have more importance to other people than we think, that every little action we do is being closely watched and judged by everyone around us, when they're not paying attention to you at all. No one really cares about you. This can even happen in friendships, especially in a school setting, in which you think you're very close friends with someone, but if you were to never initiate a conversation with them, you guys would never talk again. I kind of realized that in high school, that a lot of my friends weren't actually my friends, not in a backstabbing way, or they're pretending to be my friend. We were just people who were forced to interact with each other because of our common surroundings. School. When the pandemic first happened, I was a senior in high school, and I probably talked to 20 people on a weekly basis at school. 3 of them I considered to be my close friends. Do you want to know how many of them I kept in contact with after the schools were shut down because of the pandemic? 17 out of the 20 friends that I thought I had, I have never interacted with them ever since the school has been shut down. Over 5 years. I haven't talked to any of the 20 in 3 years. That is why a lot of men try to act all mysterious and nonchalant, because the real them won't be accepted and liked. And it's easier to pretend to be this plank of a man who shows no emotions and never speaks. Overall, I think men have to be more comfortable with themselves, and that's just a hard thing to do when a lot of men hate themselves. My advice from all this ranting is to just try new things, whether it's picking up a sport, joining some type of club, learning an instrument, getting more education. Doing any of these things will make you more of an interesting person, which will allow you to be more confident with yourself. So you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not because you're insecure. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and adios.